Hello world, and welcome to another exciting episode of the Little Bit Different podcast with your host Cory Sterling. It's me. I'm back in Brazil doing all the Brazilian things, and I'm really excited for this week's episode because this is one that even as I was preparing for it, I'm like, this might be the silliest, most playful podcast episode yet. But I also remember that I had the idea for this podcast episode when I was deep in a meditation, and I was like, wherever I was, whatever I was thinking, it was coming to me and it was like, Cory, you have to do a podcast episode about accents. So I'm a big joker, I'm a big player, I like to have fun, I like for situations to be light and easy and enjoyable, and I secretly always wanted to be an actor. Now you're learning this about me. We're learning so much about each other. And I think that any good actor should be able to do a brilliant accent. And we're going to get to all of them. The idea for this episode was basically for me to talk, in a bunch of different accents, but also explain a little bit about how I get into different accents. Like there's a couple maybe small tips and tricks of the trade that come along with doing great accents. I'll be completely honest, like I don't even know if I'm good at accents. I think that if I go to the German one right away, maybe that you can say, oh Cory, you're terrible, this is nonsense, this is Weins. You have no idea what you're doing. But sometimes people will tell me like, wow, that's really good. And then, a little pump to the ego tire, and I'm like, cool, I'm actually amazing. I can do this. But I can do a bunch of different accents from different places, and I don't know if I'm actually good at it, but people tell me that it's good sometimes. And also for me, it's a lot of fun, and I thought that it would be cool to try to teach it or explain how I go about doing it so that, each of y'all can find your own. I don't even think I put the south of the United States on this list. And I mean, that just makes me real sad, because growing up on the ranch, I mean, hey, it was different back then. Things were different back then. And we just ate our grits and walked to school and, had a real nice time. And I don't know if that's good or if it's not. But when I travel, this is another little fun travel thing. When I travel, I'll definitely always meet and speak to strangers and put on a different accent and see how far I can go. And that's part of what I love about living anonymously. By living anonymously, I mean when I'm just in a city where I don't know anyone and I can talk to anyone and have any form of interaction. Usually I'll just say garbage or just, pretend that I don't speak the language or do something confusing or whatever it is. And that's just how I get off. That's what makes me laugh and brings a lot of joy and happiness and lightness to me. It started with, what's that wee little fella? Big old fat bastard from Austin Powers. When I was in the 8th grade, we did a talent show, whatever thing to finish the closing of grade school. And I did a Scottish accent, and it was a really big hit. And get in my belly, that's what that guy said. But basically what I want to do is for each different accent that I do, I'm going to talk a little bit about how I get into the accent and how I trigger it. And maybe if you enjoy the episode, you can shoot me a note afterwards and tell me which accent you like best. Here we go. One of the things that I'll do whenever I'm getting ready to do an accent in my mind or speak in a certain language, I always find that there are a couple of grounding words that if I practice saying those words, it'll get me into that accent, because there's obviously a lot of different accents and it can be confusing. Like Scottish and Irish are very different, but for my mind, I need to sort of set everything straight. So one that I didn't put on the list is Australian. Oh, mate, you have to start with a word. So my word for my Australian accent is clothes. Oh, mate, did you pack your clothes? Oh, where'd you put the clothes at, mate? Have you gone to the tennis in Melbourne? Oh, yeah. Get around it, mate. Oh, yeah, for sure. Oh, nice to meet you, mate. How's it going? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Fair dinkum. So when I say the word clothes, I could say clothes, clothes, clothes. And then I just can sort of start getting into a little bit of my Australian accent. Also, I'm not going to do British for this one, like British English, but I just automatically imagine Hugh Grant and his hair. Hugh Grant's, his hair. Because Hugh Grant, every time he's irresistibly charming, and I'm not sure exactly how he does it to sort of be awkward and funny, but also incredibly handsome at the same time. And I'm certain that I'm in love with you for walking into my bookstore here in Notting Hill. And I don't know if that's good or bad, but that's just, for me, it's when I start doing a British accent, I just start getting going with Hugh Grant. Hugh Grant, obviously, it must be. Okay, but for Scottish, I have a couple of words that I'll use or a couple of things that I'll do, and then I'm going to try my accent on. So Scottish people, instead of saying little or small, they say wee. The moment I start saying wee, it was like a wee pub down the street, and then after that, I thought it was absolutely brilliant, Scottish people also say I after they speak, so they'll say I. I sort of means yeah or huh or a, depending on what country you're from. Brilliant. Oh, it's absolutely brilliant, So if I'm just trying to get into Scottish, I just need to start by saying brilliant, And then it's just a wee bit easier to sort of fall into it and then realize that, hey, I think I've been Scottish my whole life, That's absolutely brilliant. And there's also, when I was in Scotland, I've been to Scotland a couple of times. I've always had the best trips there. I went to a place, not a tourist place, called the House of Scotch in Edinburgh. Not a tourist trap at all, whatsoever. But I was there, and there's one you try all of these Scotch whiskeys, obviously. It's what we're doing there. At the time, that was a big pull for me. And there's a region called Speyside, Speyside. And Speyside's a region of Scotland. I don't really know where it is. It's not the Highlands, but it's Speyside. And I've met Scottish people before in the past, and I can get as far as I'm being oh, where are you from? I'll be brilliant. I'm just near Speyside, That's not. Yeah, I'm just from Speyside, Just a wee bit south of the Highlands. And I've got it, it goes. And then for me, it's sort of I feel I always screw it up when I have to say more words than are my key words. But you live by the sword, you die by the sword. So again, for having a Scottish accent, I think obviously watching Braveheart, I'll be brilliant. I'll be brilliant doing that. And just a wee bit of whiskey helps too sometimes. And after I spent that summer at Speyside, it wasn't that difficult because I realised that I just love Scotland and that's who I am. And it's part of me, isn't it? So there we go. That's my Scottish accent. And I've never, I'm sure as you can tell, I've never taken a course on a Scottish accent before or any of these accents. And I've never actually properly learned or studied how to do this. But the way that I've always been able to do it for myself has just been coming to some of those important words and using those words as a grounding technique or a way to sort of just get my brain just a wee bit altered. And when it's like that, I just remember Robbie Burns, Robbie Burns, he was brilliant. He was an incredible Scottish poet and a national and someone as a hero. It really is. So, and he grew up Speyside as well. So that's really nice. There we go. Scottish. Done. In the books. Hello, world. This is Cory from A Little Bit Different Podcast. I'm going to tell you a statistic now. You're not going to believe it. Only 22% of people who listen to the Little Bit Different Podcast actually subscribe or like the channel. So right now, I'm on a mission to get 250 subscribers to the channel by the end of the year. Will you help me? I'm hoping that the answer is yes. So please, anytime you watch any of our content, subscribe, hit subscribe, that whole button there, and like it and share it and keep being different and having the most fun ever. Now, my second last accent that I want to introduce is my Irish accent. And that's really, it's a brilliant one. It's really also, to use the word brilliant, it's also really good crack. Oh, it's fucking brilliant. And Irish people will swear until say fucking a lot. But the biggest things with the Irish accent is for them, for Irish people, TH equals T. So the numbers go 1, 2, 3. And that's the third time that I had a chance to do this. Now, one thing that I forgot to mention when it comes to accents, and I'll go a little bit for Irish in a moment, but like specifically with Irish people and Scottish people, you have to be careful because they will punch you in the face. They will punch you in the face. If they're drunk, which there's a chance they're going to be, or you're in a situation where you meet an Irish or Scottish person and they're drunk and you put the accent on and they don't think it's funny, you could have a lot of trouble. And thankfully I haven't been punched in the face before, but when I've been using my Irish accent, which it's not that often anymore, that was more in the 2000s and 3s that I was using it, but it's just something that, you know, growing up in Dublin City, it's really brilliant. It's really, really nice. And I love Ireland, but you have to be careful with those people. Because then people, they will fight you, they'll punch you in the face. They won't even think twice about doing it. And yeah, Irish, Scottish people, they will not think it's funny. I should mention this also, and I'm happy that I'm including it in my notes and all of this important information about accents. But there's a way to do it in a very playful and light way. Like, I've never once had a South African be offended by the accent that I've put on. Like, they're always receptive, and they're like, "Yeah, my bro, how's it? Yeah, for sure, yeah, it's really nice." Like, they'll go with it. They love it. They'll never be offended. Scottish people and Irish people will be offended very, very quickly. Most of the time. So you have to be careful. And Quebecois, I've never done my Quebecois English accent when I'm in Quebec. I would only do it in other parts of the country to just, you know, sort of fuck around with people and have fun and order a coffee or order lunch or pretend I don't understand something just to make a situation a little bit socially awkward. But coming back to Ireland, for me, it was, they also say it was a wee bit easier for me coming up with a good Irish accent because firstly, I love the band U2. I saw them play at Slane Castle, and that's a real Irish venue, and it's really Irish roots. And listening to Bono and T. Edge and Adam Clayton and Larry Mullen Jr. in interviews for so long, for so many years, I sort of just picked it up. And that's sort of how it took place for me, just becoming Irish. And after that, I love rugby. Rugby's brilliant, and anytime we can play at the Aviva Stadium on Paddy's Day and be there for the parade and find a way to win Six Nations, that's really nice. And if you didn't, now, like, there I was losing it. But this is one of those things that, like, if you're not from the UK and I put on that accent, I don't look Irish, but for the most part, people will be like, "Oh, he's Irish. Like, this guy's Irish." Like, especially if I spoke like this the entire time and you didn't know that I wasn't from Limerick County, then you'd probably believe it. And also, why would someone, sorry, I lost it again, but why would someone be as crazy as me to just make up accents randomly? And probably they wouldn't. But for Irish, the big thing is, like, if I need to get into my Irish accent, I'll just say 1, 2, 3, and they'll say, "That's really good crack. That's really, really nice. It's a really brilliant, good crack." And right now, I can't remember all of the expressions that I learned when I drove around Ireland in a small little car, but I drove around to Green Island and it was brilliant. It was really, really nice. And I loved every second of it. And that's my Irish accent. So that's Irish. And the words for Irish are crack and 1, 2, 3. Like, you really don't need it to be too much more complicated than that. That's how it's got to be. And sometimes you can sort of put on your lucky charms if you try. But I think that makes it a little bit more touristy type of Irish accent. So there you have it. That's the Irish accent for you. The next accent that I'm gonna go for, my bro, is my South African accent. Yeah, I think it's really my bro. So, South African accent. I've been to South Africa a couple of times. I've tried the accent on when I'm there. Mixed reviews. But what I can tell you is that if I meet other South Africans out of South African, I can make it longer in the conversation with them thinking that I'm South African. But this is the big bonus for all of these. Even though I definitely don't look Scottish, I don't really look like all the accents I'm going to do. I don't really look like I'm any of those things. But South African, like what's fun is that if I meet someone who's from anywhere but South Africa, I have a very, very good chance of being able to pull the accent off. So the words that I have for South Africa are ma bru. They say ma bru instead of bro. They say ma bru. They have something called a bra. A braai is a barbecue a special type of barbecue that they'll have in South Africa. They eat biltong. Biltong doesn't really, it's not like a word with any of the vowel stresses, so it doesn't really get me there. But South Africans will also say, yeah, how's it? Yeah, how's it, ma bru? How's it? How's it? And yeah, really nice. Yeah, nice. Oh, shame. Yeah, shame. Yeah, really. Shame for sure, my bro. Yeah, for sure. For sure, my bro. Shame. So again, if I want to start getting into a South African accent, I'll just sort of ease into it by going with some of these words. Yeah, for sure, my bro. And also, I found that they sort of have a slower way of talking. And yeah, how's it, my bro? Is it really nice? Yeah, it's quite fun. Oh, shame, my bro. Did you hear what happened over with the power shredding? Yeah, it's an absolute shame, yeah. Yeah, but how's it, my bro? Yeah, how's it? Yeah, my bro. Are you coming to the bra? Yeah, we're going to have a bra later on. To be lekker. Yeah, really lekker. Yeah, for sure. And for sure also, for sure. For sure is a big South African one that like, also, it helps if you're trying to put this accent on for wherever you are or whatever you're trying to do. Sometimes if you get lost in the middle, coming back to that word. So I'm telling you for sure, ma bro. Like, I could be in Scottish land or using, in Southern United States land or whatever accent I'm using. But if I can say, yeah, for sure, ma bro, then I'm just coming back to South African, and it's really not quite difficult. And I'm from Pretoria. Yeah, it's a colonial town. Oh, it's near the Garden Route. And yeah, for sure, my bro, it's a really, really nice place. Yeah, you've got to come visit. I'm telling you, you're going to love it there for sure. For sure, you're going to have a really, really nice time. Yeah, how's it, my bro? So if I meet someone and they're South African, I've done it where I've been able to convince them that I am South African, and I don't feel great about it. It's not like I go to sleep and I'm like, yes, I deceived that person into thinking that I'm South African. But for me, it's always just been more of a game. And just a way to be an actor and to be fun and to be light and not take myself so seriously. So South African is another accent that I do. And I'm telling you for sure, Mabru, I'm not certain that it's my best, but there are lots of people who I've met that I've been able to. Yeah, I'm from Pretoria, but when I was a young one, then I moved to United States, so I've sort of lost a bit of my accent. It's a bit adulterated, but from my time in Pretoria, it was really nice. And yeah, shame, I love my country, and it's so nice to be there. Yeah, for sure, Mabru. And that's South African. That's sort of the best that I can do. Again, as you can see, I'm sort of pulling at straws, and I think like anything else in life, such a big part of accents is confidence and just being able to continue to go with it. Some accents I can continue to go with, but like some, it's sort of like anything also, like anything that's not true. If you go long enough, there'll be a point where you sort of just mess it up. But I'm telling you for sure, Mabri, that was my second one, the South African accent that I think is really, really nice. Yeah, it's really nice to be able to, yeah, for sure, be able to do the South African accent as well for number 2. Now, the third accent that I'm sharing and I'm going through, that's the good one. That's the Quebecois accent. And for me, that's from the first times that I make the language. That's the one that I always know for the make easy, but That's because I'm the Canadian, I'm the English part, but also I speak for the French, and that's all I know, just the French accent for the Quebecois. So, Quebecois, I'm Canadian. When I was 10 years old, 8 years old, around that time, 10 years old specifically, separatism was a really big thing in my country, in Canada, where the province of Quebec wanted to separate, and then it was like oui versus non. Did Quebec want to leave Canada and become their own country? And it was a very, at that time, that was a very pressing issue. I know it's still important to a lot of people, but politically, it's not nearly in the same, it doesn't carry the same clout as it used to, which doesn't belittle the situation for a lot of people who it means a lot to. I know there's a lot of Quebec nationalists. But as a young kid, and also around the time Ace Ventura came out, which is when I was really into doing accents, you just hear Quebecois speakers on English television all the time. And that was really, I hadn't traveled, I was 9 years old, but suddenly everywhere I'm hearing the different accent. And for me, that's the good one also. So the thing that I learned from them is you make the mistake intentionally for the English words, making it the wrong way, or for the using big word when for the small, but still that's a nice one. And obviously Jean Chrétien was the Prime Minister of Canada for a lot of years of my youth, and that was his English accent. So everything that I have in Quebecois, I have from him. And as I was going through the list, I don't do Quebecois so often because that's the accent that only works for Canada. And many moments for me when I'm the child, I'm doing the Quebecois accent all the time, ordering the coffee and pretending to be très confusé, very confused for not knowing the right word, and make the person a little embarrassed. But when I travel, there's also the French accent. And the French accent, that one's a little bit different. If you're from Paris like moi, that's because that's not so difficult either, but French people will make a lot of noises. This actually came mostly from my time in Belgium with French speakers. So they'll say things like or they say allez, or they say quoi, that you just fill in for the gap. So I've been in places where I pretend to be French, and all I'll say is allez, quoi, allez, quoi, une chose, allez, and it's like, whoa, people it's so funny, because I'll do that and people sort of look at me and they're like, oh, you speak French. You're a French person. You're from France. I don't feel that my French accent is the same, is that it's as good, but it's just a little bit softer, and we choose the different word. But the R, you have to sort of giving a foot massage to the R after my summer in Arles in Provence, following the paintings for Van Gogh. But allez, quoi, c'est une chose comme, c'est une chose, allez, quoi. That's just the accent for the French. But the French Canadian, that's the very much harder one. And also when you speak the French, quand je parle français, je parlais français avec le son québécois, that's the stronger. Et quand je parle français, c'est un peu suave. Le français de Paris, le français de France, les Martiniques, quelques places. So there we go. That's like probably when I was doing my French accent, just not saying anything except for the words allez or quoi. You probably were like, this is the best way I've ever spent my time. But yeah, you know what I'd say? Me too. So Quebecois and French are two other accents, and neither of them I have to think about just because they're the sort of the OG. Quebecois is my OG accent that I just have from my childhood, that for some reasons, so like also like putting a plural to a singular is a great way to do a Quebecois accent. For some reasons, I don't know why, but that's the strong one. And after I drink de la batte bleue, et c'est ça. Now, the last accent that I sort of want to wrap up with is a Spanish accent. And you know what? I've lived in Argentina for a couple of years. I can't really do a good Argentinian speaking English. I can do a great Argentinian speaking Spanish. And I can do accents differently, and I can do Portuguese differently. So I can do Brazilian Portuguese. I can do Portugal Portuguese. I can do Spanish from Spain. I can do Argentinian Spanish. I can do Mexican Spanish. I got really, really good at my Mexican Spanish. But the last one that's nice is Spanish, because I'm from Barcelona, and actually from Zaragoza. It's a little bit in the south. But, ¿cómo se dice? For me, when I'm doing this one, it's a nice. For me, like the triggers for Spanish are it's nice or it's a nice one. Or I just make this face. This is why you need to watch the channel on YouTube. It's a nice one. It's a nice. Sort of like the French say quoi and allez, and it's like that. In Spanish, it's a nice one. So, but from being from Zaragoza in Andalusia, in the south of España, but I don't understand. It was. And my Spanish accent also is a lisp as well. Because for me, I'm looking Spanish. I look Spanish, no? I'm from Andalusia, and for there, my accent is un poco, little different, but it's not perfect. I'm not definitely from España when you are speaking to me. You're not knowing this. But also, you cannot deny the allure and the believability of the, ¿cómo se dice? Spanish accent. If I am approaching to you in your restaurant in America del Norte, and I'm saying, what is this? Omelette? No. Well, there you go. That's probably why Spanish didn't make the cut. I also want to just do a little bit of an honor roll at the end of other accents. The Israeli one is for sure Israeli. You only need to put your fingers like this, and you need to say "Maspik." But why not? Iowa. This is me doing Israeli accent. I'm loving this. It's a really good one. For me, the trigger word for the Israeli accent is and you say, really good one. This is really good. You're liking this one. This is good one. You're liking this one. This is the best one, yes. Also, I have developed through my practice, it is a mix of an Arabic and a Persian accent. I have spent too many times for learning how to do this, and I am now visitor to your country, and can you tell me where is the washroom for men? Where can I find this washroom? The washroom. I need the washroom. Very, very bad. I did a little bit, y'all know I also did my little accent there from the United States. I don't know if that one's perfect, I try it when I'm down there, and ain't no one disrespect me, and people are real friendly down there. Red, white, and blue till the end, but that's how it goes, and it's one that I try while I'm down there. And I think, probably just to sort of wrap things up here, just go with a nice Canadian accent just to finish it off, And I just want to thank you for listening to this episode, like I said, just out there by Penetang on Highway 2. If you're out by Highway 2, seeing what it's all about. But I had a meditation, one of those meditations, and I had a vision to do a podcast episode about accents, So I just thought, hey, why not shoot the whole cannon at giving it a try, So hope you enjoyed, and just remember, just remember to stay different and subscribe to the channel, And let me know which accent you like best, and I can come work birthday parties too, Don't you know that, I can come work birthday parties as an accent impersonator. Peace!